Is it on? Yeah, it's on. Okay, good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are, fellow YouTubers, cigar box enthusiasts, and 9-volt amplifier, Palletwood home-built enthusiasts too. Right, I've got a couple of things to show you today. I might be able to get in a little bit of playing at the end of this, but I wanted to show you a couple of things that contribute to making the Crayz Jack Palletwood amplifier what it is. You know, it's becoming quite popular actually. People are loving this, and I've got a couple on the go today, and I want to show you some close-ups and a few other bits and pieces, and also some other aspects about how I work, which might be of interest to you. Now, the reason for doing this little video today is because I'm working on a build of a Palletwood amplifier for a customer, and we're just having a bit of a to and fro email chat about which speaker to use. Now, this is one of the things I do when I create my amplifiers, when I do them make to order. Basically, you can customize it to, you know, within certain parameters. I've got someone at the moment asking about whether I can put their, you know, their proper mains valve amp into one of my Palletwood cabinets, and I can certainly do that. And also I'm making some, you know, Palletwood amplifiers all the time. I'm also playing around with a new design, a new sort of format at the moment as well. So I'm going to show you that in this video. So there's plenty to watch. Sorry if I ramble on and jump from one thing to another, but and also sorry about the grubby shirt. I've been working. So here we go. Right, today I'm going to show you a comparison of these two speakers. Now this is the JVC CS-J410X, or it could be OX, who knows. And these are a pair of speakers. You buy them like that. They're about 15 quid in the UK, 15 British pounds, and they come in a box like this, which has got a template on the back so that you can cut out your speaker holes, perforated. You can see that. These are nice little speakers. JVC, obviously a fairly well-known brand. And here we have a nice pair of lovely brand new ones here. So there we go, that's what they come like. There we go. And I've used these in a few of my Crayz Jack Palletwood amplifiers. But the other one I'm using is this little thing. Now these are both 4-inch speakers, and I think they're both 4 ohm speakers as well. The amp I'm using specifies well, basically 4 to 16 ohms, and apparently you get the best power at 8 ohms. But I find that for guitar amp purposes, these little 4 ohm speakers are working very well. Now they're both 4-inch, so they've got the same footprint or speaker hole print, whatever you want to call it. And there's subtle differences. I find this one distorts a little bit earlier, so if you're into that sort of sound, you know, it's got a soft mellow distortion at the top end, you know, when it's cranked fully. This one distorts as well, but slightly later. So this tends to give a better, sort of slightly cleaner sound. However, as you can see, it's a plastic cone there. In fact, they're both plastic cones. This one just, I don't know why I said that. This one sort of seems to remind me of the old traditional paper cones, but obviously it's not. No, it's plastic as well. Interesting, I didn't know that, didn't realise that. Anyway, very similar. And what I'm going to do today is to pop them into 2 different cabinets just to see if we can test, you know, and spot any differences in the sound. So I'm going to do like a little A/B testing. Okay, so those are the 2 speakers. They're roughly the same price, about £15 for 2. And this one's got a little socket wired onto it for testing, because I've been developing an amplifier and testing it as I go. This one, I'll show you how to solder that up in a second. So I'll pop that one over here. But also, what I'm going to be showing you in this video, just put that away a minute, it gets messy here very quickly. I'm going to show you this. Ta-da! Now this is the Crayz Jack take on a pig nose amplifier. You'll probably recognise that sort of format there, yeah? Although the pig nose has the guitar in socket down here. I'm not so keen on that, so I've put my socket at the side. And the reason for doing this is I wanted to see what the benefits of the, everyone's raving about the pig nose, and they have done for 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, however long it's been around. I've never actually used one, but I've seen a couple of demos on YouTube, and I can see why people like it. It's a tiny amp, you can sort of take it anywhere. It opens up so you can keep your sandwiches inside. But as I've said on previous Crayz Jack videos, there's usually an empty space in the back of my amps, and you can keep your sandwiches in there if you want. Now, the pig nose has a 5-inch speaker, I believe, but because I've been using lots of 4-inch speakers for a while, I'm going to make mine 4-inch. I may go larger and upgrade this to a 5-inch speaker in time, but I just wanted to sort of try out the format to see how my amp performed in this. Now, here's something very interesting. This one here is CJPW001. In other words, this is the prototype. This is the first Palletwood amplifier I built, and it's got a speaker out socket there and a speaker in socket as well. I'm not selling this one because I'm hanging on to this one because I use this for testing. Basically, the speaker in socket enables me to put any of my other little test amps, or if I'm building a circuit board on the breadboard or something, I can plug it into the speaker here and test it in the cabinet. And this is really nice. But I put that same speaker into this one the other day, and it sounded virtually identical. Didn't have quite as much volume and possibly bass as this one, because obviously you've got a nice big woody cabinet there. And as anyone who knows anything about acoustics, or if you play an instrument like a violin or even an acoustic guitar, you'll know that the cabinet is a very important part of the amplifier. It's actually a big part of the amplification. That, it builds the resonance. Now, I'm curious about this one because basically I've got quite thick, Palletwood's quite thick. It's about, say, 15 to 22 millimeters, depending on which piece of wood you're using and from which pallet you get it. So I was interested to see, what the sound was like out of this one, but it actually turned out to be very good. It was hardly distinguishable from this one. Okay, so that's the Crayz Jack version of the pig nose. I might call it the big nose. And also, for comparison, here's one that I'm working on for a chap called Steve. Steve's a jazz player, and he wants one of these to go with his electroacoustic F-hole jazz guitar, and I think it'll go very nicely because, as I've said in some of my previous videos, the Crayz Jack amps seem to be suitable for a clean jazzy tone. So this one's the cabinet's nearly finished, and I'm at the stage of just doing the last sanding down. And as you can see, I always try to work in some knots because, can you see, it's got this lovely great big knot going through it here, so I've kept that prominently on the top there. It's got boot marks here, stains from the warehouse and bits of weathering and so on, but of course nice tidy sound hole, all sanded down. The controls are going to go up here, so here's the control cavity, an open back, so as I say, you can keep your sandwiches down here, or a foot switch or your pedals or whatever you want. Here's the single speaker out. We don't have a speaker in on this one because, I'm not using, this is for a customer, so I'm not using this for testing. The battery compartment here, there we go, it's all cut out ready for the battery box to go in there. And what have we got? We've got a nice thick piece of, I don't know what the wood is, but this is lovely to work with, lovely to cut. I'm not sure what this stuff is on the front. I had some lovely oak that was very similar, but it cuts very nicely, very hard grain, and look at the quality of the grain, the end grain on that. Now I know this little corner here, this whole amplifier is going to come up beautiful when I apply the stain, because basically that's what it starts like, and that's how it comes out, a sort of satin effect which protects it from spillages and some weathering and that sort of thing. But it's a good coating, and it doesn't destroy the lovely quality of the wood. So that's what this one's going to probably end up like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of my speakers in here and one of these speakers in here, and then do a little bit of A/B testing. And now I'm going to show you another Crayz Jack gadget. I've got lots of gadgets in my workshop. Let me just show you something over here. Here's a little box I've got for breadboarding. Now, when I produce the amplifier, when I solder up a Crayz Jack amp circuit, I can just pop it on this little thing here. So there's a blank PCB, or not a PCB, but a bit of board, forgot what it's called now. Just pop that on there like that, do up the screws, and then you plug in these little wires, and you can test the amp before you actually install it in the finished amplifier. So that's one of my little gadgets. Here we've got another one. This is more complex breadboarding. You see I've built in 5 little breadboards into the top of the cigar box there, so I can tweak my circuit. I can put other components in, you know, next to this, change the capacitors and stuff. And there's a battery box there, on-off switch, guitar in, speaker out. Oh no, other way around, guitar in, speaker out. And this enables you to test the components in that sort of format. Now this is basically an amplifier with no speaker and all the gubbins on the outside. So that's another little thing I've got there. But one of the things, I'll show you one more, Okay, this one here is very, very useful indeed. With this one, I can build 2 circuits and test them side by side, so slightly different components, and a breadboard as well. So I can test 3 amplifiers, 3 amplifier circuits, at the same time without having to sort of unscrew one and screw in another one and then plug it in here and there. So I can link this up to my guitar. It's got a guitar in socket up here, speaker out A here, speaker out B there, and a switch to switch between the speakers. So basically you can do A/B testing on speakers here and ABC testing on the amp simultaneously. And you can, you know, compare the volumes on the amps and things like that. This is a very, very useful tool. I find it's very good for troubleshooting. If I find an amplifier is not working properly, I can compare it to the last one I built, just pop them both here, and then pop the same components into the breadboard here and sort of see if it all works the same. So that's another of my little test rigs there. But the one I want to show you today, this is great. This is sort of an amalgamation of some of those ideas. Hey, it's a Crayz Jack amplifier that's flat. Yeah, this is a lovely Chariton, or Chariton, however you say it, cigar box. There's lovely rounded edges, look at that, beautiful. Again, this is that same satin plasticoat finish, I believe it is. So it doesn't destroy the nature of the wood. It goes with the wood very nicely and gives it a nice seal and stops bits flaking off. So this is a lovely finish. Okie dokie, so this little thing is very smart, even though I say so myself. It's basically a Crayz Jack amp, just like this sort of thing. In fact, this is a tester as well. A/B speakers testing there. But that's the sort of style of the Crayz Jack amps. You know, you've got your computer grill thing here on the front to protect the little speaker. Visaton, I think this is an 8 ohm speaker in here, but they're good quality. And here we've got an on-off switch. That's on. That's off. That's on. That's off. So it's a proper little amplifier, and all as usual, simple volume. That's all. But here we go. Guitar in, and I'm also going to. I've made a hole there for a foot switch, so that I don't even have to flick this switch. I just use a foot switch to swap between the things I'm testing. So this is for testing basically the amplifier as soon as it's built. So as soon as I make the circuit, just like the other one, can you see there? I pop it onto that little test bed there, and I've got some clever little pokey probe pin things there in an array, and the newly soldered up amplifier sits on there. There's the gubbins of the inside of the amp. Close it up like this, turn it on, and hey presto, you can test the circuit without having to install it in the amplifier and then find something's going wrong there. So this is a great little thing. And also I can switch between speaker A and speaker B. So I plug in one speaker here, and it allows me to test 2 speakers. So basically what I'm going to do, so I'm going to have my guitar into this, speaker A and B leads out into one of these with the JVC, and one with this little yellow thing. Now, as I think I forgot to mention, I don't know what make the yellow thing is. They come from all different Chinese companies. It used to look like, when I first ordered it, can you see the brand under there, under those stickers? It was, you know, it came in a box, looked like that. There's the other one inside there, you see. But the last time I ordered it, I thought I ordered from the same company, but it came with the labels blanked out for some reason. Anyway, so it's sort of unbranded, but they're great little speakers. Right, so here we go. Let's get things wired up. Okay, folks, so here we go. Right, as I said, this speaker here has already got a little socket wired up to it. That's just for testing. And I'm going to do the same here. So I thought I'd just show you a little bit about how we add the connection to a socket to a speaker for this sort of test. So I need one of these, standard guitar in or audio out or whatever it is, socket. We'll need some wire. I use red and black for, you know, obvious reasons. Usually that's the live hot wire, whatever you want to call it. That's the ground earth or cool, whatever. And these are just some of my Crayz Jack screws. I've just put those there so that this brands my video so someone can nick my content. Right, here we go. Now, basically I've also got I think it's a 40-watt soldering iron here, standard sort of piece of kit. You can adjust the temperature. I usually work at about 350 odd. Now, first thing, I also need some of these clippers. Right, so first of all I'm going to cut myself about, I think about 8 or 9 inches of wire. And, it's clever, isn't it? Now, I've got a thing here, look, on my new pad. Let's see, what have I cut on there? I probably cut this to a length for some reason. Now that's actually 10 inches there. Probably more with the twist, but let's do the same. So we'll cut about 10 inches there. Snip it with these little, now these are a bit blunt, but never mind. Same for the black wire. I'll do that just to get the length approximate. I'll probably adjust it in a minute anyway, so that's our wire done. I think I'm using 22 or 24 AWG gauge wire here. I used one for a couple of years and then it seemed to run out, so I switched to the other one. And yes, I could probably make this a lot easier if I went and got a set of wire strippers. But I've been doing this for years, so I find this just as easy, to be honest. And just strip about ½ a centimetre off the end of each wire, leaving it like that. See that there? Right, okay. So now we've got our 2 wires. I'll just twist these together to stop them straying around too much, and I'm going to put a little bit of solder, as our friends across the pond would say, on here to tin the contacts, as I say. It just makes the soldering job easier when you're fiddling around with wires. So just going to heat that up there. It'll take a second to heat the tab, bring in the solder. I'm doing this from an awkward angle now, so I'm shaking about all over the place. It's always harder when you're trying to do things on camera. But, right, there we go. Okay, so clean off the tip. That's our speaker thing tinned. I'm just going to grab myself some of these nice little helping hands things, which are very, very useful indeed. Pop that there. Now, because this is just a mono speaker amplifier, it doesn't really matter which way round these go, but just to keep things nice and tidy, I always do it the way it should do. So one of these tabs is designated as positive and the other's negative, so I'll go with that. Actually, I might not need those helping hands. Just pop those wires in there. I've already got some solder on there, but I saw a chap doing some soldering on the internet once, and he had a nice little phrase. He said, "The bigger the blob, the better the job." Now, I know those of you who know about such things will probably say, no, that's not the case. You ought to be nice, clean, tidy, and that's generally what I do. But sometimes you do need a little bit more solder, especially if you're doing it on camera. It's wobbling all over the place. There we go. Okay, clean off the tip. Okay, and there we go. Fairly clean, good connections anyway. Right, so then what I do is I twist the rest of the wires together. Now, according to some, this helps to prevent unwanted noise. If you twist the wires together, there's some sort of cancelling effect going on, or maybe a Faraday cage wire effect thingy going on. Not sure, but anyway, twist them together like that, and I will need my helping hands now. And in this case, just to keep this still, These are useful. At first they're a bit tricky to use, but once you get used to them, they're good. Now the center tag, lug tag tab, or whatever you want to call it here, that goes to your ground. That's the main shaft of the incoming what's it thing. I'm just going to tin these as well. So just heat them up a bit, get some solder on there. Gosh, this is probably the worst bit of soldering I've ever done. And it's purely because it's on camera and tricky angles. Right, okay, so there we go. And the outer pin here goes to the head of the incoming thing. Guitar jack plug. Just slide that through there. That did cool. That's nice. Slide this one through here. If I can find the hole. Oh my goodness. Making a mess of this. Going from this side. There we go. You have to be careful not to burn yourself. And that, as they say, should be that. Turn off my soldering iron. Okay, release these clips. Now I should have put some heat shrink over those, but I'm just doing this quickly, and I'll probably unsolder this and use it for something else in a minute anyway. So there we go. Right, so there's both our speakers wired up. Oh, this one's got caught around the wire. Off camera there. So there's both our speakers wired up, ready to go. And I think just to test they're working, what I'll do is I'll bring over my little amplifier here. This is the, scoop these things out of the way. Here's my little amp that I showed you just now. We'll plug in. I'm not sure if I actually tested this circuit or not yet. I think I have. So that's speaker A, and that's the JVC. Turn this up full. Let's move this all along here, shall we? Oh, can you see that? No. So that's speaker A is going to the JVC. Speaker B, I can't remember, to be honest, whether I've actually wired this up fully for. Yeah, there's definitely noise coming out of there. Doesn't seem to be noise coming out of there. Wiring looks correct. Socket looks okay. Let's plug in a guitar and find out what's going on. Right. So we plug the guitar into this guitar in over here, and straight away we get some noise. Whoops, noise is coming out of that. Yes, that is the JVC. I can feel it there. You probably can't see anything. And this is the, whoops, flick the switch. And now it's coming out of this one. So there's our two speakers. As you can see, they both sound pretty ropey because there's no cabinet attached. And they just face down into the desk. Now, interestingly enough, this is what a lot of YouTubers do. I mean, everyone's got their skills and abilities and so on. I often see a lot of YouTubers doing this sort of thing and saying, hey, yeah, you know, I wired up this thing. And it sounds terrible. But of course, you've got to put it into a cabinet because the cabinet is part of the amplifier. Right, next thing to do, pop it into the cabinet. Now, you can probably hear some pops and crackling there coming from the amp and both speakers, and basically all these wires and things and the amplifier is now picking up all the electrical stuff I have around my desk and under the desk. So you do get a little bit of noise, but that's life. Okay, right, next stage we're going to pop these into the boxes and then do the same test, but this time we'll have cabinets around them. Hang on.